Okay guys, got the mic on today, hopefully, and just wanted to learn a new rule for dividing exponents. But real quick, just as a review, multiplying exponents, as we discussed yesterday, is adding exponents. And when we have this situation, it is multiplication. So it's just knowing when to do the correct operation. So this problem really is no more difficult than 2 plus 13. And this one is no more difficult than 2 times 13. And these are both things that you guys have been doing since elementary school. You just got to know the right time to do it. So our new one today is dividing exponents like this. And just like with multiplication, we add. With division, and a lot of us know this, subtract. And the reason for that is, if I were to write this out, I should have chosen a smaller number perhaps. 11. There's 13. Definitely should have chosen a smaller number. And there's 2. So x divided by x is 1. In other words, it goes away. And x divided by x is 1. In other words, that goes away. And the answer is x to the 11th, or x to the 11th over 1. And the opposite of that would be x squared over x to the 13th. Well, what if we had that written this way? Up here, we went 13 minus 2. And down here, we have to go 2 minus 13, which, of course, is negative 11. So we have x to the negative 11th. Now, the rule with negative exponents, you can't leave your answer like this. So all you have to do, and this seems to be hard for kids at first, but all you have to do is switch it and make it positive. So if it's on the top, you write it on the bottom as positive. Same thing, if it were on the bottom, all you would have to do is switch it to the top and make it positive. That's why you see me always write things over 1, because it gives the fraction a top and a bottom, and I know all I have to do is switch it to get the problem correct. So if you want to see why it's that way, we would have x squared over x to the 13th. Really regretting that now, doing the 13th. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and x divided by x. It's too bad you guys don't have iPads. X divided by x, and we're left with 1 over x to the 11th, and that's why it switches and becomes like this. So however you want to think about it, whatever works for you is good. Let's try a couple that are on the worksheet. So on the worksheet, I've started with C. I almost wish that I had printed out A for you guys, because 8-2 is really hard. So right here, we are going to just start with number 1. And number 1, remember you guys start on B, is 12 to the negative 2. And remember, I said think of all of these as over 1. And all our rule does is tell us that it needs to switch to the bottom. I got students trying to come in first period, and become positive, and it's 1 over 12 to the 2. Now the rule is, can you leave it like this? I probably wouldn't count it wrong, but if this multiplies out to something smaller than 1,000, you do it. So 12 to the negative 2 is just a fancy way of writing 1 over 144. Let's do 2. Problem 2, we got 2/5 to the negative 3rd. So yesterday we learned that when you have this parenthesis situation, you have to multiply this times this. Now, there's not a 1 here, but it's always there. We just don't always write 1. So 1 times negative 3 is 2 to the negative 3. And negative 3 times 1, again, is negative 3. And by our rules, negative exponents are no good. So all we have to do is switch their position and make them positive. 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. And 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So that fancy business in the beginning, right here, is another way of writing 125 over 8. All right, let's try 3. Let's just keep going with these. 8 to the 5th times 8 to the negative 7th. So now we're multiplying. So when we multiply, we add. So we think, what is 5 plus negative 7? That's negative 2. And again, think of this as over 1. So what we have is 1 over 8 squared, which is 1 over 64. All right, let's just do a couple more towards the bottom, and then I'll let you guys go ahead and get started with B. We'll do 2 more problems. Let's do 13. 13 is 14x to the negative 5th. Now you want to think of this as over 1, and let's think about what gets to go to the bottom and what has to stay on the top. Most kids, when they're doing this, I'll write it in purple. This is incorrect. Most kids go like that, which is actually incorrect. And the reason for that is, as I talked about before, every number is to the first power. And positive exponents are okay. So since that's to a positive exponent, it gets to stay in its place. Since this one, the x, is to a negative, it has to move. Okay, let's do 14, which says 4 over 5 to the negative 2, x to the negative 7. So, okay, what gets to stay and what has to go? 4 to the first gets to stay. These two are the negative exponents, so they have to go. And that is 5 squared. So now, this is all multiplication on the top. We have to go 4 times 5 squared. 5 squared is 25, and 25 times 4 is 100. So the answer is 100 x to the 7th power. Okay, I know I said we'd only do 2 more, but we're going to do 1 more. So let's do 15. We got x to the negative 10 and y to the 21st, all over 1. So we've got to decide what stays on the top. This gets to stay. This has to go. And it's just that easy. You're done. So hopefully that's helpful. Go to B, use the whiteboard, start with B, and write your answers onto the worksheet, and please be working today. Thank you.